episode of Hilltop HomeGrown. Here behind me, this is the purple sprout and broccoli we harvested last time. Just a quick update on that, just to show that was, what was it, about a week ago, something like that. Yet again, more harvested this time round. This time we're going to look at the garden pest I promised, and we're going to see what we've come up with as the best way to combat them. Now, the garden pest I'm talking about is weeds, and the reason I call it a pest is it can affect your crop just as much as any other kind of pest, like aphids, caterpillars, slugs, snails, that kind of thing. And what we do to keep them down is we keep on top of them, and that's the best thing we found to do, is get them small. Get them small and they won't come through, and your crop will come through. Like these are the lettuces we planted beginning of January. These are all ready for harvesting now, and I'll show you that in another video. But look, you get little things like this just underneath your lettuce. Just pull it out while it's small, get rid of it, job done. And that way it doesn't grow, it doesn't affect your harvest, it doesn't affect your crop, and the plants that you've got in there are brilliant. Otherwise you can end up with the bed overrun, and it can affect the size of the crops that you've got. I'll show you a bed that we've really kind of let go, not on purpose but by accident, and see the effect that it can have. I mean, we've done bits of weeding in it, but not exactly what we've done. That's our mustard bed. So what we could do with is getting really on top of that and properly making sure that we're on top of the weeding, because that can really affect obviously the size the plants can grow to. Less competition, the more nutrients there are for your plants to be growing. Just take your weeds out, get rid of them, job done. Right, now as I said, you can see here all the mustard that is growing, and it's growing really quite well, to be honest. However, there is, as you can see, a lot of grass growing through it, because all these beds were put down on top of the lawn, so the grass is still quite a difficult one that we find coming through quite a lot. Now, as you can see, at the moment, not really affecting the growth, however, allowed to get any bigger, and it could do quite significantly, so that's why we need to go through. I mean, I've been through a bit already, and you can see the amount of weeds I've taken out. Some of last year's potatoes were still buried quite deep as well, which is quite funny, and they've started to sprout through again, so I'm going to pot those on, see how we get on. But yeah, so job now, clear this bed of weeds, of the grass, and any other bits and pieces of weeds that we find coming through, and then it will be just like the lettuce bed, nice, clear, and that way we can ensure that the mustard can concentrate on growing rather than having to compete with everything else. Right, so now we've gone through weeding and things like that, and how that works, and how we found that to be the best kind of control to increase crop growth in our garden. We're going to go through 5 more kind of common garden pests that we found. Number 1, slugs and snails. Everyone knows about them, they're a pain to everybody, but you know, what do you do? Well, we've not had much of a problem with them since we put in a mulch. Nice mulch on the pathways prevents the slugs and the snails from getting there. For some reason they don't like walking on them, and it's been really effective, really cheap, really simple, and it makes the place look a bit nicer as well, as far as I'm concerned. And it's a good way of reusing any kind of sticky things that you can put through a shredder, and also mulch is quite cheap to get from the garden centre if you want to. You can put copper banding around your beds, obviously that relies on you having somewhere to put the copper banding to. It's got to be about 1 inch thick, can work out quite expensive but not particularly. I've never used it, so I can't comment either way, but it's supposed to be quite effective in keeping the slugs and snails away. Number 4 on the list, and that is birds. Now obviously if you're planting in a polytunnel, you've got the advantage you can close the doors and things like that. However, if you're planting outside, you might not have that luxury. My best advice that I can give you is quite simply to put a netting over. That's the best way of kind of combating it, like a netting or a fleece or something like that, preventing the birds from getting there. You can build a little framework to raise it up to really stop them if you want to. However, you can also put transplants. The bigger your plants when they go out, the less likely they are to be attacked by the birds when they get out there. I mean, plants of this size, not very likely the birds are going to go after them. However, some bigger birds and things, they might do, especially you might pick at sunflower seeds and stuff like that during the summer months, so you just got to watch out and just be kind of proactive about keeping the birds away. They're quite a simple one to keep away. Number 3, aphids. Now this is a slightly harder one to cure. The best thing we found is you can get some stuff, again, garden centre, Amazon, places like that, sprays that go on them. But to be honest, the most effective thing is nature itself. If you can encourage their natural predators, ladybirds, obviously the most famous one, wasps, you know, other insects and things that will predate them, then that's going to be the best way of combating them. But as I say, there are chemicals and sprays and things like that you can do. There's a couple of homemade ones. Haven't done those myself yet, but I will look into those and try and make a video on them at a later date. But the best thing I can recommend for those, just encourage the circle of life to happen. Encourage predators in, and they will help protect your crops for you from predators like aphids. Number 4, mice. Mice love nibbling things, chewing things. They'll go through your packets of seeds, they'll take some of your little onion startups and things like that they can go through. They will go through everything and anything they can get their little teeth into. The best way, unfortunately, to get rid of the problem is to have a predator on site. Your predator tends to be your household garden moggy, your cat. They'll do a very good job of keeping the mice away. If you're not wanting to get yourself a cat, you can also go down the route of putting traps or poison, things like that out. I wouldn't recommend poison, as if someone else's cat or a bird or something like that got them, it causes all problems down the food chain. You know, you can do a lot of damage with poison, but there are traps and things like that. Personally, I would say if you're going to go down the trapping route, please get a live trap, move them out your area. That's the best thing you can do. Put them in the countryside somewhere, they'll thrive out there, and they're not going to be a pest in your garden then, and you've not had to go through and kill them unnecessarily. That's the best thing I can recommend for those. Which then brings me on to number 5, which is cats. Ironically, cats, although they solve the mice problem, then become, we have found, a problem in themselves. We've got 6 cats, and they absolutely love digging up the compost in my beds, using it as a litter tray, using it as somewhere to sleep. So they chew some of the plants because cats think that they're great things to do. They sleep on them, they can kill your seeds, they dig through your beds. There's all sorts of damage that the cats can cause. What we found is the best way to deal with this is to give your cats entertainment. So we put blankets out for them, there's shelves we've put up for them specifically just for them, they can go sleep on those rather than having to disturb my crops and my harvest in my bed itself. And that's the best way we're finding of dealing with those. I'm not going to recommend getting a dog to deal with a cat, because then you have to deal with the dog problem, but that would be the best way I would recommend anyway of dealing with the problem of cats. But one final word on cats, and that is that if you've got seed trays and things, make sure they're secure, because cats love jumping up onto tables, they love jumping up onto shelves, they will knock them sideways. And we've had it on more than one occasion where we've lost an entire cell tray of seeds purely because one of our cats has knocked them off. It's unfortunate, it happens, but again, just please be careful. You don't want to go risking a nice bed of food for the sake of a cat knocking something off. So that's it for the Garden's Pest video and how to solve them. What we're going to do next time is we're going to look at seed planting in your cell trays, have a look at what we found to be the best way to get good germination going through, and how you move forwards into getting them from kind of seeds in a packet into cell trays ready for planting out later on. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that kind of thing. Thank you very much.